We will call to order the regular board meeting of the Board of Election Commissioners for the City of Chicago. Good morning. My name is Maricel Hernandez. I'm the chair. With me is Commissioner William Cressy and
Present.
Commissioner Jonathan Sway.
Present.
Okay, thank you. Next item is the consideration of the agenda. Are there any proposed changes? If not, we'll proceed with the approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting of May 27, 2021. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved by Commissioner Swain.
Is there a second?
Seconded by Commissioner Cressy.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Swain votes aye.
Commissioner Cressy votes aye.
Great. Motion passes. Next is Executive Director's Report.
Good morning.
Mr. Howell.
Good morning, Madam Chair and fellow commissioners. As mentioned at last board meeting about repairs at the warehouse, on Wednesday, June 2nd, a walkthrough was done with our facility coordinator, Dean Fatikis, AIS, and the Public Building Commission for the purpose of developing a scope of work. However, they want to prioritize the top 3 or 4. When asked our assessment, we stated that all the 13 items need to be addressed. We can't address one and ignore the others. So on Thursday, June 10th, again, there's another walkthrough with our facility coordinator, Dean Fatikis, AIS coordinator engineer, and the Public Building Commission's doing another walkthrough of the board occupied floors and have been asked to explain the activities conducted in the building and explain how, why, and where the items are staged. So that's scheduled for this Thursday. As the news has reported, legislation is on the governor's desk to be signed to push the election back from March of 2022 to June 28th. I'll be meeting with our staff on tomorrow to go over details on how we will proceed from this point. Once it's signed, our redistricting department is ready when data is provided to begin redrawing of maps. And our general counsel will speak more on this in his report about the legislation. Our ADA compliance team met with the DOJ and Equip for Equality to continue work in bringing our polling places in compliance. The DOJ's office is pleased in the progress we are beginning to make far as getting in compliance with our polling places. I also attended the MIS ISAC election infrastructures on how to improve your cybersecurity program. And they talked about the different ransomware and the different viruses that during the month that were affecting systems and counter-rated them and which one was getting the most hits. So at this time, that ends my report, Madam Chair.
Okay. Are there any questions? If not, thank you, Mr. Holliday. And Dean, I assume you're going to be there for the walkthrough on Thursday?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am, and then I will submit a full report to Director Holliday, and then he will also, give you a report on what was going on. They're trying to prioritize just a few items out of the 13 that have been an issue since we moved into the facility. And when they kept on asking about that, and I kept on saying that we need to address all those issues. All those issues are important to us. And so now we'll see what happens. From what I understand, there's a grant, but I don't think the funding is enough to do what they stated at first they said they could do.
Okay.
So we just don't know at this point.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you for helping out on this, and we'll be waiting to hear what happens, okay?
Great,
Thank
Commissioner.
you. Um,
I do have a quick question for Charles, and it also ties in with Adam. Talking about the DOJ and the accessibility project. Adam, I know there was some talk in Springfield about changes in the number of voters in precincts. That did not pass, correct?
That's correct. At least for jurisdictions of our size, that's not included in the omnibus bill, which is the only election bill that we've seen any action in lately.
Okay, because if it had been in there, we would be reducing precincts, and that would affect the accessibility project, but that shouldn't have any effect on the accessibility.
As
Okay.
of now, we're moving forward as usual. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair.
okay. Next, we'll hear from Sandra Spera, our Assistant Executive Director. Sandra?
Good morning, Madam Chair, fellow commissioners. I actually have really nothing new to report since the last meeting.
Okay. Thank you. Now we'll proceed to old business. Infrastructure projects and changes in election administration and voting equipment. Mr. Holliday, anything new there?
Nothing new, and the electronic poll books, the only thing new with those is that the warehouse is doing the maintenance on those that needs to be done for the upcoming election, which will probably have to be done a second or a third time since the election is going to be pushed back. They've started the maintenance on those.
Thank you. Anything on electronic poll books?
Nothing. That's it.
And now we'll proceed with the Lasker, updates on legislation.
Thank you, Madam Chair and fellow commissioners. We do have some things to report on. Last week, the governor signed into law 3 new districting maps. That's for the Illinois General Assembly, the Illinois Supreme Court, and the Cook County Board of Review. Their work is not done yet, but that's a start. It should be noted that these maps have been drawn based on data from the U.S. Census American Community Review Survey. So that's not the standard census data that is usually required. There was, as we discussed previously, some legislation that was passed to allow them to use the American Community Review Survey data. I'm not sure whether that's going to be challenged legally or not, but for now, these are some new districts that we have. Not including any federal districts, which I imagine would have to still be under federal law, which has not been changed to allow the community review survey. It has to still be U.S. Census data. You've received a report on an omnibus bill that has passed both the Illinois House and Senate. It actually has not yet been sent to the governor's desk, at least according to the General Assembly's website, but it sometimes takes them a few days to do that. The reports on the website seem to be pretty quick. I'm going to get to another bill where there's already updates from this morning. But I haven't heard any talk about the governor's office vetoing any part of that legislation. It is the bill that also includes, as Mr. Holliday mentioned, the delay of the 2022 primary from March to the end of June. So we'll continue watching that to make sure it does go into effect. But having not heard any reason to expect a veto, we're going to start making plans, plan B to operate a primary in June rather than March, and just keep tracking that legislation. There's a lot of key points in a lot of different issues in that bill. One thing I omitted from my memo that I previously provided to you is some security measures. One of them is kind of interesting, that the election authority is going to be required to have a website domain and email addresses of a .gov. And our board made that change. It was either last year or the year before, so we're already in compliance with that. And I've spoken with the IT department about some other security matters, monitoring and routine checks, and we're just going to make sure that we're up to snuff with those requirements. But just to hit on some of the highlights really quickly, this legislation approved by the General Assembly, if it goes into law, it would make General Election Day as a state holiday, but just for the year 2022. It changes some office title names, including that Chicago aldermen would become alderpersons. It would allow for universal vote centers on Election Day. That also appears to be again, a temporary measure that will repeal itself after the 2022 election cycle. Would allow for an optional curbside voting program that would not be restricted only to people with disabilities. It also creates a permanent roster for vote by mail. That's an interesting change, a progression, and a trend we've seen in a lot of states that are progressive with their voting laws. The way it works here is the voter could, we the board will have to come up with an application that allows for the voter to opt in to be placed onto a permanent roster of vote by mail voters who would then automatically receive ballots for all future elections. The voter, of course, can designate a political party affiliation. The board would have the leeway to come up with its own internal administrative rules on what the deadlines are prior to an election for changing that. We have to facilitate changes in party affiliation, but we can make reasonable rules on that. And a voter would stay on that permanent list until either the voter requests to be removed from the list, or the voter provides notice of a change of registration, or the election authority receives confirmation that the voter has registered to vote in a different jurisdiction. So that's an interesting change that will probably be coming.
Okay.
I think that's about it. Yeah, for those. And then we're tracking the elected school board bill. I've also sent you information about how that would look. It is still currently drafted. It would become over a 2-year election cycle. It would become a 21-member elected board with 1 member elected at large that would serve as the president, and 20 districts. We would start in November 2024 general election with the first 10 districts that would be elected for a 4-year term, and then 2 years later for the 2026 election, we would conduct the elections for the following 10. The other half plus the citywide position would be in 2026. So as long as everything passes the way we're expecting it, or the way it's in the bill, I should say, we have some time to incorporate these new districts and to work with the General Assembly that will have the statutory responsibility for drafting those districts. I do want to point out that as of this morning, the General Assembly's website is showing that today that bill, which was approved by the Senate on June 1st, today it was sent to the House. It was originally a House bill. It's House Bill 2908, but that had nothing to do with elected school boards until the Senate added an amendments, 1 and 2. That contains the substance of the bill. And now that the Senate's passed that, it has to go back to the House for a concurrence vote. It just did that today, went back to the House. I have not seen it calendared yet for first reading in the House, but I'll, of course, continue tracking that bill. That's my legislation report. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
Yes, Adam, first, with regards to the elected school board bill, now that it's gone to House, as I understand it, the House did not adjourn. It's still in session, awaiting, reconvening by the Speaker. But since it's past May 31, that bill would require a supermajority in order to pass?
That is my understanding. And it is also my understanding that even though the General Assembly's website isn't putting up sessions, that they are standing at the call of the chair, or the Speaker, I should say.
Speaker, right.
Yeah. So that is correct, Commissioner.
Okay. As to the omnibus election bill, there was also something in there. I'm just wondering how it would affect this. I think the required number of signatures on petitions were reduced. Will that affect us?
We are not currently in a cycle where nomination papers are filed with our board. We will, of course, have electoral board cases that are dependent upon signature challenges. And so,
Right.
yes, those signature requirements will be factored in when we get to those electoral board hearings, and with our election calendar that usually comes out in about August in a redistricting year, will contain
So that
those.
does affect offices. That does affect offices that we oversee with the electoral board.
I do believe so. Yes.
Okay. And then I noticed when you said reasons for removing someone from the permanent vote by mail list was that they request they be removed, or we receive evidence that they have moved. Does that include evidence that they have died? That I guess they've moved at that point,
So, Commissioner, the statute expressly mentions only that they've moved to another jurisdiction. So that's the express language of the statute. Now, that of course coincides with our ongoing both state and federal law requirements to canvass our voter registration rolls and remove properly registered people who've moved away and people who have died. So I think it's just, we have a requirement under state and federal law. When we receive notice that a voter has died, we're required to remove them from the rolls. And I think it's just inherent that that also includes removing them from the permanent roster of vote by mail, because when they're not registered anymore, we can't send them a ballot anymore. But it's not expressly stated in the legislation, now that you point that out.
But if they move to a celestial address, we would consider that.
That's outside
Move.
the jurisdiction of the board, yes.
Would it be legal for us to canvass specifically the people on the vote by mail permanent roster?
Well, I can't think of any reason that would. I mean, there's nothing in the statute, in any of the statutes on canvassing, that specifies something like that. I suppose we could. I wouldn't see a problem with it. We do our canvass. The canvass is lawfully required to be done every 2 years.
Right.
But our board has, for I don't even know how long, been doing it annually, and so that those voters, every single voter is included in that every year.
Right. But there would be nothing that would prohibit us from specifically, as long as we're doing it for every voter, specifically go back and check all the names that are on the permanent vote by mail list. Make sure they're not
Off the top of my head, I can't
somewhere.
think of anything, whether a court
Okay.
would rule that there's an equal protection thing because you're canvassing some people more strictly than others. I don't really want to get into that because that's just
Yeah.
speculation. But there would be no express statutory violation that I'm aware of.
Bill, why would you want to do that?
Well, because the problem with any kind of a permanent vote by mail is the idea that the people at that address, or the registered person, has moved or died. And if if they're still in the system, we would be mailing a ballot out to a mailbox where somebody else would have access to a live ballot. We don't have that. We have other controls for people that would be alive, would be going to a polling place, things like that. So you've got a specific thing there. So you want to we get the names of the computers, just run them past the Eric, run them past the death lists and things like that, and just specifically make sure that these folks have either are in fact at those addresses and are in fact alive.
But wouldn't the canvas take care of that? I'm going to presume that if we did a canvas and someone came back and was at a different address or whatever, however the process that would impact the permanent vote by mail list, wouldn't it, Adam?
It certainly would. And what I'd like you both to consider is, so we do the canvas annually, and that is where we mail out the cards and see what bounces back or what sticks, right? But in addition to that, there is the multi-state, the ERIC program, that's sending us data routinely. So if someone does go and register in a different jurisdiction, they register to vote in a different jurisdiction, that will sooner than later come in through that ERIC system, and that would result in our removal from our rolls. Same with the death certificates that we get periodically from the state and county. So there are ways in which the canvas is ongoing all throughout the year, in addition to the fact that this board does it every year, even though it's only required under law to be done every 2 years. So there are a lot of different systems. It's not even just that one annual canvas. There's systems that are ongoing.
But just to clarify the point, what I'm hearing you say is that the permanent vote by mail list is not a list in and of itself, but it's a list that's driven by our voter rolls. That is the voter rolls, or the validity of your person on the voter roll is what has to validate them being on a permanent vote by mail list, right?
It is colloquially called a list, but you're right. It's not really that we create a separate list. It's more that there's a status that's given to a person's voter registration file.
Right, and so their positive status as a properly registered person at a particular address is what governs whether or not they would get a vote by mail application. You have to be a legitimately registered voter at a particular address for you to actually qualify to have that status checked. Right.
Absolutely. And as Ms. Aspera could very well tell you, our vote by mail department is using registration data every election, the most current updated registration data that we have, to verify the legitimacy of eligibility for every application that comes in for a vote by mail ballot. And so we'll have to create a new aspect to our registration system that will allow for this new designation to be put on, a new status designation to be placed on every voter's registration data. But it's not going to be, I don't envision this being a whole separate database or anything. It's definitely driven off of and a part of our registration system. Yes. So if a person's removed from our registration rolls, our system would not allow us to mail them a ballot.
Okay. I was just trying to come with a quick and easy way of being able to respond to criticisms about a permanent vote by mail status. And just, being able to say that, yeah, everyone with that status has gone through canvassing, has gone through, name checks on Eric, et cetera, would be a way of responding to that potential criticism. That's all.
Very, very correct. Yes.
I can add that, Commissioner Cressy, that the registration department is focusing on those potential deceased matches through the IVRS system currently right now.
Right. Good. As I say, I think we run a really good ship, but I just want to be able to address any, questions that come up with regards to the permanent registration.
How long do we think it's going to take to get this up and running?
Well, I would have to speak with our contractors who develop the registration and maintain the registration system. I'm not exactly sure, but I don't see it being that large of a change. And considering how quickly they made some changes in the last election for vote by mail changes that we had legislatively for the past election, I don't think it would be a problem for us to get up and running pretty quickly.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions or comments? If not, we will, is that it for your report, Mr. Lasker, on legislation?
On legislation, yes. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. We will now proceed to new business, and we have some professional services agreements for approval. The first one is with Guillermo Bill Perez, and Guillermo has been our Spanish language and community liaison for the Spanish-speaking community. This agreement would be for $60 per hour, capped at $60,000 for the term July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022. Are there any comments or questions? If not, is there a motion to approve a professional services agreement with Guillermo Perez for, as I said, July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022, $60 an hour, capped at $60,000 for the term?
So moved by Commissioner Cressy.
Second by Commissioner Swain.
Okay, properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Cressy votes aye.
Commissioner Swain votes aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. The next one is a professional services agreement with Shobana Jory Verma, who is our Asian Indian language interpreter and community liaison for the term July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022 at the rate of $60 per hour, capped at $60,000 for the term. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved by Commissioner Swain.
Seconded by Commissioner Cressy.
Been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Swain votes aye.
Commissioner Cressy votes aye.
Motion passes. The third is a professional services agreement with our second language and community liaison via July 1st, 2021 through June 2022 at the rate of $5 per hour, $58,000 for the to approve.
Hey, you're breaking up a bit, Madam Chair. but
Oh, sorry, I'll repeat that. The third professional services agreement is with Sarita VRL for the term July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022, at the rate of $45 per hour, capped at $48,000 during the term. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved by
so
Commissioner
moved by
Swain.
Commissioner, seconded by Commissioner Cressy.
You're muted, Commissioner Cressy, I think.
He's good.
No,
Okay.
We have a motion and a second.
Okay.
Okay. All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Swain votes aye.
Commissioner Cressy votes aye.
Thank you. Motion passes, and now we will proceed with the contract renewal option from a prior bid award between the Board of Election Commissioners and Cardinal Printing for the printing and mailing of full voter canvas. And this is our canvas that we will start preparing for actually probably now, right? For mailing in August, in or about August.
That is correct, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. This contract, it does include the option to renew and the option to exercise the renewal for the board's next full voter canvas. Is there a motion to approve the renewal option for the period of July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022, for the amount of $87,750?
So moved by Commissioner Swain.
So seconded by Commissioner Cressy.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Swain votes aye.
Commissioner Cressy votes aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. We will proceed now to new business under C. First contract renewal options from prior bid awards for printing between the Board of Election Commissioners and the following and these contracts would be extended through March 13, 2022. The first one is the renewal option with J.J. Collins for dated forms, envelopes, and form/envelope 276P for $320,004. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved by Commissioner Cressy.
Is there a second?
Second by Commissioner Swain.
It's been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Cressy votes aye.
Commissioner Swain votes aye.
Motion passes. Next is a renewal with Cardinal Color for generic forms and signs. The contract value during the term extended through March 13, 2022 is $23,135. Is there a motion to approve?
Commissioner Swain votes, Commissioner Swain moves.
And Commissioner Cressy seconds.
Okay. Probably seconded. All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Swain votes aye.
Commissioner Cressy votes aye.
Great, motion passes. The next one is a contract extension with the Shield Group for dated signs, and the contract value is $12,450 through March 13, 2022. Is there a motion to approve?
Commissioner Cressy so moves.
Second by Commissioner Swain.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Cressy votes aye.
Commissioner Swain votes aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. Next one is a renewal of an option for election judge handbook with Lake County Press, Inc. And that $147,336 is to approve.
Commissioner Cressy so moves.
Commissioner Swain seconds.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Cressy votes aye.
Commissioner Swain votes aye.
Motion passes. The next extension of a contract is for printing bank, which would be the bank. The contract value is $2,150. Is there a motion to approve?
Commissioner Swain moves.
And Commissioner Cressy seconds.
Great. It's been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Swain votes aye.
Commissioner Cressy votes aye.
Motion passes. The next renewal would be with Elk Grove, Inc. on the wristbands. The contract value is $35,428.25, and this is through March 13, 2022 again. Is there a motion to approve?
Madam Chair, before the motion is given and accepted, it wouldn't be wristbands, it would be a voted sticker. It wouldn't be wristband.
What would it be?
for what?
Charles,
It would
repeat.
be it would be a I voted sticker. It wouldn't be the wristbands.
Oh,
We
for
stop
the stick-
that.
The I voted.
We stop the wristbands, but it'll be a I voted sticker.
Okay, I thought we were gonna go back to the wristband.
No.
Okay. Disappointing, but I'll accept it. Is there, a motion to approve, the, extension of the contract with Elk Grove, Inc. in the amount of $35,428.25?
Well, I got Commissioner Cressy disappointed that we don't have the wristbands, but we'll try stickers this time. People seem to like the stickers, so I will so move.
With hesitation. Noted.
Second by Commissioner Swain.
Second by Commissioner Swain, probably moved in second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Commissioner Cressy votes aye.
Commissioner Swain votes aye.
Motion passes. Thank you so much. And now we go to the next item on the agenda, which is the renewal of lease agreement with Pitney Bowes for mailing system. We have the first one is with Pitney Bowes, Send Pro 2000, the DS96 tabletop folder. The lease amount is $1,529.44 per month, or $18,353.28 per year for 48 months. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved by Commissioner Swain.
Seconded by Commissioner Cressy. Seconded by Cressy.
All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Swain votes aye.
Commissioner Cressy votes aye.
Thank you. Motion passed. The second one with Pitney Bowes is for the Send Pro 3000 with no tabletop folder. The lease amount is $1,397.71 per month, or $16,772.52 per year for 48 months. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved by Commissioner Cressy.
Second by Commissioner Swain. Second by Commissioner Swain.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Cressy votes aye.
Commissioner Swain votes aye.
Thank you. Next, so that does our part in approving contracts for this meeting. Next, we will go to the legal report. Mr. Lasker?
Thank you again, Madam Chair. There is an interesting case decision. It's only on a motion to dismiss. The Illinois Conservative Union and some of its members sued the state of Illinois and the Illinois State Board of Elections under seeking access to copies of voter registration records. The state filed a motion to dismiss, and on June 1st, that motion was denied. Many thanks to our board's electoral board hearing officer, Joe Morris, for sending me that court order so I didn't have to dig it up myself. What's at issue in the case is that Section 8 of the National Voting Rights Act requires states to compile voter registration lists and for the state authority to make those lists available. And to make available is also related to our canvass that we do. This is the law that requires canvasses every 2 years. And when there are results of that canvass, voters removed, the records and so forth on compliance with those canvass systems are a part of this lawsuit and a part of the request that the Illinois Conservative Union submitted to the State Board of Elections under the Freedom of Information Act seeking copies of those and related records. There is a state law, however, that when it comes to the actual list of registered voters and their personal data, there is a state law that prohibits the release of those entire lists except to registered political committees and candidate committees. And so the Illinois Conservative Union, which is not a political committee, is a nonprofit 501c3, had their request for those documents denied by the State Board of Elections, and they then filed suit. So we don't have a final decision in the case. It's just that the state's motion to dismiss has been denied, but there was a very well-drafted, detailed opinion and order by Judge Sarah Ellis of the Northern District of Illinois Federal Court. And so that's pretty much a roadmap for where the case is probably going to go as it heads toward trial here. We will continue to monitor the case. The impact on our board would be essentially the same as the state board, even though we're not a party to this. If the state law is successfully challenged and declared to violate the federal law and therefore be unenforceable, then that would change the manner or change the scope and the groups of people and individuals and organizations that might be eligible to receive that data both from the State Board of Elections and from our board. So we'll continue monitoring that case, and of course working with Joan Agnew, the board's FOIA officer, to make sure that our board remains in compliance with whatever the courts might order. And that's my legal report for today.
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you, commissioners. Madam Chair, I think we've lost your audio.
Yeah, that's because I was on mute. Sorry.
Oh,
about
okay.
that.
All right. We hear you now. Thank you.
We have no financial report. Trish, is there anyone for public comment?
No one has requested public comment.
Okay. Okay, we are. Is there a need for executive session today?
I have not received any requests for executive session.
Okay. If not, then I would entertain a motion to adjourn to our next regularly scheduled meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved by Commissioner Cressy.
Second by Commissioner Swain.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please state aye.
Commissioner Cressy votes aye.
Commissioner Swain votes aye.
Okay, motion passes and we are adjourned. Have a wonderful day today, everyone, and we'll see you soon. Okay?